So then we are back with the modern understandings from the time of the Second Tabernacle services, where we find the Aramaic English translation of the word. This translation comes from the original manuscripts of the prophets of the Israelic lineage, so then we can understand the time of the end as per Yirmiyahu the prophet. We find layers of understanding of the spring feast, the autumn feast, and also the returning of the cities of the Messiah laid waste for many centuries. As we read it in Yirmiyahu the prophet, we must ask ourselves always, why then Israel has destroyed its own prophets? This question we should ask because people they tend to become lazy or then on the side of convenience every time they hear the words of the Messiah or then the Torah itself. But then let's verify as we read these what the Messiah then he was explaining as far as becoming obedient. Let's then evaluate what the Messiah has said from the Israelic lineages scriptures as far as those who then are saved, they encourage others on maintaining the path. Now this truly requires obedience and then discipline. We know the Messiah, when he came, he completed the spring feast, and then he gave understandings as far as how his people would have to obey the holy instructions, and then teaching other people as far as the autumn feast coming in the future. Now, as far as we can understand, the Messiah is not playing games because he understands when his holy cities were laid waste, the holy miltha that should be given only to those who are obedient is obviously rampant being destroyed in this world. Now, as the Messiah then is going to return in the future, then his cities must be then active, and we should obviously, if we want to get our souls saved, becoming ourselves obedient. The Greco and the Romans, they decided of giving the people these false understanding: if you are a nice person, then you are saved. You don't have to become obedient to the Torah and the prophets and the writings as long as you love the other people. Let me say this to you. Love does not exist from the Israelic lineage. What it does exist, you have very strong friendship with those who are obedient. This is what you have, encouragement of maintaining on the path of what the Holy Creator Yahweh has said. Now, if people they tend to deviate from the holy instructions, and then at the same time trying then to become more convenient, then the soul of the person is not saved. So then, not because I say these as then extra scripture, it's because of the truth of it. This world, if we don't produce fruit, we then at the end we are taken away and burned with the others. Thus then Sheol or Inferno is the very chamber in the midst of the earth where the souls of the people they are in torment until the end of this age, when this planet then is burning with sulfur as it was during the time of the cities of the plain. And then the second death is then obviously while this earth is burning, and then throwing the first death into the second death, and then sin is dealt with. Hurting other people does not bring you salvation. Only obedience and encouragement of others on maintaining the holy path as per the instructions can bring you salvation. So each of us must produce fruit, and then we must understand what's coming in the future. So if we are then revealed and we are obedient, then we are saved. Now, if you don't understand Revelation, then you are not saved. How can you maintain the path and then maintain the path of other people if you can't explain revelation? Not only this, but the Messiah then, as he was explaining the holy instructions, it came a point in time where nearly the whole city was after him, or the city wanted to have him becoming their king. That's how strong this became. It was so strong that even sometimes when we read, you have the mother saying to him, "What of my sons then? Can one be on your right and your left?" That's how close and how he was then involved with the city, and the city wanted to have him their king. Now, we don't understand this because during these days you don't have a prophet so powerful as he was, and then as he was explaining the holy instructions, he was taking nearly the entire city after him, because he had the word of truth. Now, when the Messiah then was pointing out their conveniences being more important than after himself, as the Torah stated it, then people left him, because he was not bringing them conveniences. Then, obviously, he was betrayed, placed on a stake. Then he was in the heart of the earth for 72 hours, where he saw then the souls of the people in torment. Then he came back from the dead and he spent 12 months with his people, reteaching them the holy instructions and teaching them the future of the situation. Now, there is a very important point. In Luke chapter 4 explains when the Messiah then was involved with the holy instructions. He was explaining then an area of the spring feast. And because of the wordings he used, we must then understand the Messiah was nearly completing this section. Now, there is a very important point regarding this Luke chapter 4. And more study is required, because not only people have the understanding of Leviticus the 23rd chapter, but then the wordings used in the translation, they are dubious. First, we must understand, if the Messiah said on past tense, then he said Luke 4 after he came from the dead, as it was completed. This scripture today is completed in your ear. Or he said this scripture is going to be completed. Now, as we study the holy instructions and come up with a solution later, the most important is this. The Messiah was explaining Ruach HaKodesh, or the Spirit that was coming only to work on behalf of those who are obedient. So let me ask you this. You are a person that you reject the Holy Torah and the instructions and the prophets and the writings. Do you think then the Spirit of the Creator Himself, being obedient to the Torah, is going to have any relation with you? What you do have is a relation with this world contaminated that stole the milk from the holy cities, and you can't make yourself obedient by remaining on a path of the Creator Himself. So are you saved? No, you are not saved. That's why the Messiah has said only a very few people are going to find the way until the end, because a person from Bereshit until Revelation, from Genesis to Revelation, must become obedient to the entire Torah. Those who are obedient to the Torah and they maintain the path and they help other people, they encourage other people of maintaining the entire counsel, these are saved. So do we understand then how far away we are from becoming obedient to the Torah? And how much more work we must then provide ourselves with in order for having our souls then saved? So people wanting only conveniences, it is not going to bring them salvation. Because the milta of God that should be given only to those who are in the holy cities as per the instructions of Ruach HaKodesh is obviously in this world and being used in a wrong way. But the Messiah is coming back and the cities must be active. So then, as far as understanding the 11th chapter of Daniel, we already know, for instance, what's coming in the future as far as fuel is very significant. And as we understand the future as the Messiah was explaining then to the disciples, in 24th chapter of Michyahu, when he came back from the dead, so then as we read how the world then is going to become pathetic with the desire of having conveniences. And then in Luke also, chapter 1:7 explains how then the people are going to become caught when the Messiah returns. So let's becoming much more aware of what the Messiah has said and encouraged the others are maintaining these paths, so then their souls, as per their obedience, then can be saved. And obviously, as far as Egypt and the nations, what is coming is not very nice. Because the Ishmaelites are going to become under the control as far as who is going to get oil and who does not get oil. At least not for cheaper prices. So please stay tuned, much more coming up.